What's up, everyone, and welcome to another edition of DSP's Inbox. I'm actually doing it a little bit different this time. I'm actually going to run a stopwatch on my phone so that I don't go over, because the past couple of times I've been making videos, I keep forgetting that my camera has a 30-minute time limit and it keeps ending abruptly. So I'll be keeping an eye on that over the next 30 minutes or so. We have lots of questions to cover. In fact, I want to announce that this is going to be the very last episode of DSP Inbox where we're going to use email as a way to submit your questions, and there's two reasons for that. The first reason is it's getting crazily out of hand. I had 3,113 emails in the past 2 weeks, and I had to sift through them to try to find legitimate questions. It took me over an hour today to do it, which is why here I am in the afternoon. I haven't even put up any videos today. It's been taking me forever to even get this done. And I finally did sift through and get some really good ones. Today's going to be a little bit, the questions are going to be a little bit longer, meaning what they're saying and asking is a little bit longer, but it's actually, they're better questions, I think, than the past couple of weeks. But the second reason that we're going to stop using email is because I have a website now, thekingofhate.com, and there's absolutely no reason to use an email submission base when everyone can just jump on the website, register, and submit their questions that way, and it'll be a lot easier for me to take control of. So immediately following me uploading this video, I'm going to jump onto the website, and I'm going to create a new area in there. You'll see it'll be a specific area just for this show. Now I'm going to actually change the name of the show because it's going to be stupid if I call it DSP's Inbox, but I'm not getting questions in an inbox. It's on a forum. I'm going to call it Ask the King. And so it'll be Ask the King thread. You go in there and you're going to see, for the next episode, which will roughly be 2 weeks, I'll put up roughly a 2-week date. Post your questions here, and every time that a new episode comes out, I'll unsticky that thread and sticky a new one to replace it so that you can put your questions for the next episode. I am, however, going to keep doing the Twitter thing. Right before I sat down here, I posted up on Twitter. I said, please give me your Twitter questions. I got over 100 twits in like 2 seconds. It's crazy the amount of people that are following me now on Twitter. But anyway, if you don't know about that, please follow me on Twitter for stuff like this. My account is They Call Me DSP. So anyway, we're going to jump into it now. Really good questions this week. I really am pleased. So let me get ready here. Okay, the first person asked 3 questions. Question number 1, who were your biggest rivals or biggest threats in Super Turbo? And I'm guessing what he's asking is when it was competitive and I was playing all the time in tournaments. The bottom line was, at one point on the East Coast, I would say my biggest rivals were people like Justin Wong, who actually was at the top of the ladder on the East Coast. Even though he didn't play the game that much, he has a knack of finding some of the best strategies in games and just using those to win, even though he doesn't necessarily understand the game at a higher level, which is crazy, I know, but he seems to do it in a lot of different games. So there was Justin, Chris Doyle, who is one of the best Chun-Li players in the United States, if not the best Chun-Li player in the United States today, and his brother David Doyle, a couple other people from New York. It's kind of hard to remember when, that was like 3-4 years ago, and when I was, still in the tournament scene, because what I primarily remember happening is within a relatively short period of time, say 2 years, I basically went from the bottom of the ladder to the top on the East Coast, and really there was no one on the East Coast who could beat me in Super Turbo anymore. So what ended up happening was I ended up traveling a lot in 2007. I wanted to challenge myself. So I ended up going to almost all of the Evolution qualifier tournaments that they had that year after winning EVO East. And I actually went to EVO West, which was probably one of the most challenging things I ever did to myself in my life, because here I am, one of the very few players from the East Coast who traveled to the West Coast for their qualifier for Evolution. Pretty much the world was against me. I mean, no one was rooting for me at this thing. And some of the biggest rivals on the West Coast are going to be some of the biggest names. Alex Valle, Mike Watson, Jason Cole, John Choi, David Serlin, the big names, the big guys who've been out there playing Street Fighter competitively since the mid-90s when it became a competitive game. And I was lucky enough that year, and I don't want to say it was all luck. Obviously, there was a lot of skill involved too, but I beat a lot of good people. I did. I beat Alex Valle and Mike Watson in that tournament. Ended up getting 5th place. I lost to John Choi and David Serlin. So back then, I would say probably the West Coast people were my biggest rivals. Now today it seems more like, because everything's become so console oriented, that a lot of those players who used to be at the top really don't play that much anymore. Especially since Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix came out, a lot of that older, old school community didn't like that version of the game. And I personally can take it or leave it. There's a lot of weird changes in that version that make it really fucked up for me, because I played the original Super Turbo so much. And I really haven't played that game in a competitive setting, to be completely honest. I never did, so I don't know. I don't know how I would do. I don't know who my competition would be today, because I have not really played HD Remix in quite a long time. But back then, pretty much, after I dominated the East Coast, I went to the West Coast and I played the best. And sometimes I won, sometimes I lost. So, the next question. After gaming season is over, would you ever consider making some sort of an announcement saying you will be on Street Fighter 4 HD Remix and people can play you? I've said this in the past. Yes, I've thought about doing these like community collaboration playdates. Nothing definite right now because we're in the middle of this hardcore gaming season in the fourth quarter of 2010. But hopefully next year, if I get some more time, we'll do something like that. There'll be more interactivity with the fans. And then finally, is Marvel vs. Capcom 3 the only game you're planning to participate for EVO? The answer to that is no. If I do go to EVO, I'll enter a couple more games. I'll probably enter Super Street Fighter 4, whether or not it gets patched by then. And I'm really starting to have high hopes for the new Mortal Kombat game. From everything I've seen, they're really trying to make it a competitive fighter again. And Ed Boon, who, as you know, has been part of the Mortal Kombat community since day one, has been consulting with my friend Jason Wilson, who was probably the best, undisputed best Mortal Kombat 2 player in the country when that game was popular in arcades. And that game actually was pretty much the last competitive Mortal Kombat game. So that's a good sign. He's asking the person who was the best at the last competitive game of what changes they can put in, what the balance is like, and things like that. I'm hoping the game is good enough to become competitive, and maybe it'll be featured at EVO, but I guess we'll have to remain for that to be seen. And all those questions, by the way, were from Muru. Thank you, Muru. Alright, up next, we got a question from Tom, and he asks, I recently posted on one of your videos that you should take your camera with you when you go to buy and sell games and basically make a vlog. The comment received a lot of positive response, but I thought I'd tell you more directly. And I'm just going to sum up his question. Would you ever consider taking your camera around with you on a daily basis when you do stuff? And, you know, what would you think to film and stuff like that? And would you consider doing that? And unfortunately, the answer to that is no. And the reason is, there's two reasons. Number one is obviously privacy issues. When you put yourself out there like that, people might say, oh, I know where that store is, or I know where that is, and you might end up with these crazy people trying to stalk you, which is the inevitability of having some kind of popularity somewhere. And the second is that a lot of these places do not allow filming. Actually, if you look back last year on my Dark Side Phil channel when Modern Warfare 2 came out and they had their premiere launch event at the GameStop in my local mall, at first the security had told me to put the camera away. I said, wait a minute. I know everyone who works at this store, they asked me to come and film this for YouTube to promote their store. Then they went and talked to the management at the store, and the store said, okay, we'll let them do it. Now, since then, unfortunately, my friend doesn't work at that store anymore. I don't have those kind of connections, so for me to just walk into a mall and start filming, it's actually against the law because it's private property. I'd have to get like written permission from the mall. And honestly, it's not going to be worth it, so no, I'm never going to be able to do just like walking around filming kind of stuff. If I'm on vacation or something like that, that's different. You can kind of say, oh, I'm a tourist, you know, oh, you know, I'm passing it off as that. But besides that, there's really no opportunity for me to do like an open world kind of a vlog like that with everything that I do, unfortunately. Alright, doing good on time so far. It's about 10 minutes in. Alright, the next question is a long one, so bear with me. But it's a good one. This one is from Paul Tamburo. He says, good luck pronouncing that. I don't know why he thinks that's not a difficult name to pronounce. He says, hello DSP. After watching your last DSP inbox episode and hearing your response to the ridiculous plagiarism question, it was pretty ridiculous, I was wondering whether, considering you said that you're a fan of thatguywiththeglasses.com, would you consider working with them? It is well documented that they are a well-earning website. In fact, they grossed about $150,000 in revenue last year. Wow, I didn't know that. And with your YouTube following, you could potentially make a very big splash indeed. Obviously, the profit would obviously the profit you would make wouldn't be enough to consider it a full-time job, but I think that introducing something like your Hateful Truth series to their site would be a perfect fit and a nice separate source of income. They're known to be very accepting of new content, which admittedly sometimes is actually their downfall, but it would be a big coup for them. Well, he thinks I would be a big coup for them, and it might open up new avenues for you. Keep up with the good work. So thanks, Paul, for your question. First of all, he's absolutely right. ThatGuyWithTheGlasses.com is a website that I have followed for several years. A lot of funny series like the Nostalgia Critic are on there. And in the past couple of years, he's actually acquired some other people like Spoonie from the SpoonieExperiment.com, Angry Joe from AngryJoeShow.com. Some really funny people. Yeah, I do like the site. I like what those guys put out. But he's absolutely right. At the same time, there's been some other things on there, and I'm like, this is really questionable. It's not really entertaining. I'm wondering why they signed these people up. Whether or not maybe he's just being really too nice, or maybe he really liked it, and unfortunately, I don't know. It might be just my opinion, but have I thought about doing something like that? Yeah, but just like he said, none of those people are doing that stuff as a full-time job. The website itself is a collaboration of over a dozen people, and between them, they only made $150,000. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to have a tiny, a little bit of side income like that, but at the same time, to wholly give a series like, for example, The Hateful Truth to that website, I don't know. I mean, it would be a good idea, and that would probably be the series I would give something like that, where I would go back to the old style when it calms down a little bit here with gaming season, and do the animated intros, and do the music and the jokes and everything that I did last year with that series. It might be, that could be a real reason to look into do something with those guys. Now, I haven't contacted those guys. I haven't talked to them. I've never met them in person. I'm not sure what they're like. But they seem cool from what I've seen on the site. And I don't know. I mean, it's a potential possibility, but it's not anything I've really been thinking about, simply because when you do something like that, okay, now you're like kind of obligated. I have to give them a video on this kind of a schedule and do this. And it's going to end up basically turning it back into like becoming a job again. Even though this really is a job, right now it's kind of an open format for me, and I have the ability to change things on the fly. And it might be a little bit more of a format that I'm not used to at this point. But I don't know. I mean, let me put it this way. Am I interested? Sure. If those guys were interested in trying to acquire someone like me, I'd absolutely be open to talks about it. In fact, I actually have been talking to the guys over from the Game Station on YouTube, and I'm trying to set something up with those guys to chat with them and talk about it, but it's so crazy right now this time of year. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to sit down even this week or next week and talk to them about it. There's so much going on in my life right now with YouTube and all kinds of other stuff, so we'll see what happens. A lot of potential to expand and to be designed to different things, but we'll see what happens. But hey, if those guys from That Guy with the Glasses are interested, send them my way. I don't know. I don't talk to them or anything, but like I said, I haven't really had time to branch out and look for those kind of opportunities. I've been right now just focusing on what I'm doing because everyone seems to like it and everyone seems to be participating. So, like I said, these questions are a lot longer, but they're really good. Let's sip here. And we'll check on time. Still doing good, about 15 minutes. Okay. Next question. Hi Phil, they recently announced that Duke Nukem Forever will be released on the PS3, 360, and PC next year. It's about damn time that this game came out. If you're not familiar with Duke Nukem Forever, this game, well, basically, Duke Nukem 3D was released in the 90s, and it was released around the same time as Doom and some of the other popular 3D games per se, before they really had polygons in them, but they had that 3D perspective. And it was extremely popular because the game had irreverent behavior. The main character was this badass dude who swore and had these catchphrases. The weapons were off the wall. You had like a shrink ray, you had a freeze ray. I mean, just crazy stuff. And it was a really enjoyable game. And then this company, 3D Realms, made a shit ton of money on it. And they basically screwed themselves because the guys who had always been in charge of the project felt like this was their baby, and they didn't ever want to release the next Duke Nukem game until they thought it was perfect. Which, as you will find out, is a huge mistake because nothing is ever perfect. Duke Nukem Forever was supposed to come out in the late 90s, then it was supposed to come out in the early 2000s, then it was supposed to come out in the mid-2000s, then it was supposed to come out in the late 2000s, then earlier this year in January, 3D Realms closed their doors for good and everyone got laid off. because basically the project had been in limbo for so long. They had changed the game engine something like 3 to 4 times. Every time that they felt that they were ready to finish the game, those people who were in creative control said, no, it's not good enough, we need to do this and this, and whatever they would want to redesign would make the game look outdated again by the time that it was done, so they had to start from the drawing board. So finally, Gearbox Software acquired all the properties of Duke Nukem. They looked at what was already done for the game and they said, this is outstanding. All it needs is really a little bit of an overhaul with the graphics engine, some tweaking here and there, and we can make a solid game off of this. And that's exactly what they're doing. So someone had actually asked this question, I believe last month or the month before, and I was a little bit wary about it. But now that I've been reading more about it and looking a little bit more at the footage and everything, I'm thinking that next year is going to be epic, because when that game comes out, I mean, if it lives up to the potential, if it's at least decent, I think people are going to go nuts. Because they've been waiting for this game for something like 15 years, and for it to finally come out, this could be awesome. So I am actually getting excited for it now. His attitude, his badass attitude, Duke Nukem's that is, and all the little one-liners and everything he does are just right up my alley. So let's see what happens. I'm excited, and I definitely want to get the game if it comes out next year. Okay? Next question. Hi Phil. Oh, by the way, that last question was from Lucas. Thanks, Lucas. Next question. Hey Phil, I wanted to know what your favorite game of all time on any console is. I don't have one. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and debate. I have many different games from different genres that I like. I don't have one overall favorite game. But let's get to the meat of his question. It's most likely that you won't be able to bring it to one game only, which is my next question. I think you've done some top 10s before, and he's obviously talking about my end of the year, like top 10 best games of the year and things like that. But I think you should do a top 10 video segment on anything, like your top 10 favorite games, your top 10 fast food joints, top 10 girls. Oh, my number 1 girl was the one from 2004. No, I'm kidding. Or the top 10 shits that you've taken. You know what? I can answer that one. Whatever the last shit was is always the best. He says, and you're probably really interesting because you're so diverse. I know the top 10 videos are always viewed a lot on other channels. Is this something that you'd think to do? And that's from Adrian Goose. Thank you, Adrian. And the answer is, sure, I'd think about it. That's a good thing. That would be a great filler. Like, for example, next year, if it's slow and there's not 10 games coming out in 1 week and I need something to put up on a channel, I could do my top 5 favorite action games, or maybe my top 5 favorite movies, or, you know, stuff like that. And absolutely, I would consider doing that. That's a great idea. It's just that, you know, up to now, I haven't had a chance to do it because I was only doing this part-time. Now that it's my full-time job, we're in the middle of gaming season, but when it ends, then I'll look to do something like that. Thanks for the suggestion. We're still good on time. Wow, we can keep going here. Okay, next question. When are you going to do a DSP try-set on the stuff that you got from Cafe Press? You said that this was something you were going to do when you got those items from Cafe Press. I know it's a busy time for you right now, but it would really be something to help show the videos are more than just about food, and that's from Charlie Fleury. Charlie, all I have to say is, oops, you're absolutely right, I forgot. I did buy a lot of stuff from Cafe Press to try to demo it for everyone, and basically, you know, talk about it and give it a rating for everyone. I completely forgot. I've actually, some of the things, like the shirt, as you see, the beer stein that I use every single day, and in fact, the mouse pad that I use every day, you know, I've had around now for like a month, and I completely forgot to even talk about them. The bottom line is, for the most part, I really do like the quality of the things that I've been getting. The mouse pad's great. Look, it's not like one of those crappy plastic top mouse pads. It's actually a fabric top mouse pad that's colored or dyed. It's really good. It's a big mouse pad. You can either make it like this or like this, but I made them like this so that way, you know, the pictures look good. But yeah, there's a lot of different products. You can't see it above me right now, but I have a Dark Side Phil clock on my wall here. You've probably seen the clock in the kitchen, the giant one. I have not really had any complaints about any of the merchandise. The one thing that people have asked about are the shirts, and they said, gee, how are those printed? Is it just like a simple iron-on? And the answer is, it's not a simple iron-on, but it is the kind that if you're constantly washing and folding it on that, it's going to screw up the design. In fact, what I've started doing is, since I wash these, I fold them so that this does not have any creases in it, and so far it seems to have worked pretty well. So yeah, I mean, the merchandise it's good quality. And what I'll do, now that you've mentioned that, is I will do some DSP Tries It videos on those things that I've ordered to demo them for everyone. In fact, you're going to actually see my Smart Guys episode this week. One of the journals, I actually bought a journal, and that's what I'm taking notes on wrestling now when I watch the show. So you'll get it. In my videos, you get to see me use these things from time to time, but I haven't necessarily rated them. So I guess I will. That's a good point. It's a good chance for me to take these things and basically do something different with the DSP Tries It videos, and I will do that. So thank you, Charlie, for that suggestion. I think I actually have time at least for another question. Yes, I do. I have about 10 minutes left here. We'll try to get one more question answered. Okay. The next question, it's a long explanation before he gets to the meat of his question, so bear with it. Dear Phil, it seems rather odd that you're getting upset at hateful comments on your videos. I mean, you call yourself the king of hate, after all. And he says, I don't know about you. It's not much of a surprise that the king of hate is getting hate. I mean, that's how you got your name, right? And actually, the answer to that is, no, that's not how I got my name. It seems like that's what everyone's assuming because I am getting so much hate for what I'm doing on YouTube, but that's not how I got the name. I got the name because back in the day of, the Street Fighter community, when I was really big in that community and I was an active participant, I was throwing tournaments and doing all kinds of things, I was not afraid to open my mouth and speak out about something, even if it meant basically being hateful or not necessarily saying something that's going to make someone happy. I think people always need to hear the truth, and that's why you say the hateful truth. If it is a negative but it's truthful, I think it needs to be stated. And so a lot of people started calling me the king of hate because I wasn't afraid to go ahead and be hateful when I needed to if it was something that I felt was truthful. So yeah, funny story. But anyway, going along with the question. As you've said, you've always had haters even back before YouTube. Except back then, you didn't let it faze you. You took the hate and made a name out of it. No, I didn't. But anyway, you became the king of hate and basically told them to keep hating because they cannot stop you. That is true. You took the hate and turned it into hype. That is also true. Now it's kind of different. It seems to be getting to you, and rather than feeding off of the hate, you're getting really upset about it. I'll address this in a second. It seems really out of character. What's changed from then to now? I personally think you shouldn't let it get to you. Even the haters that you have now are just giving you free publicity. If anything, you should tell them to keep it up, because each time they try to flame you, they give you free views and comments, most of which get flagged and ignored anyway. Sincerely, Adam. Good question. A little bit off base, I think, because you kind of misunderstood how I got the name the King of Hate. But to answer your question, it's not necessarily the hate or the haters that was getting to me. And I think what Adam's referring to is a couple of weeks back, I did make a little bit of an update on some of the things I was doing, especially with the TSP Tries It series. And basically saying, listen up guys, calm down, stop putting really silly comments on the videos like you're a fat fuck and you're going to die of cholesterol because all you do is eat this fast food. And I explained that that's not the case, that the DSP Tries It series is a review series, not me sitting there and eating the food series. In fact, there were a couple of things that I tried, like a couple of BK breakfasts and things like that I thought were gross and I did not eat. And I think people are just assuming too much. And Adam's right. In the past, back before my YouTube days, I used to take so much shit from so many people. I used to get called a scrub. You're no good at Street Fighter. You're no good at life. You're a loser. You're this. You're that. And I took so much. I was pretty much the most hated gamer in the Street Fighter community. And to be completely honest, I probably still am. If I ever were to go back and try to really rejoin that community, I get the feeling that a lot of the old idiots would come out of the woodwork to try to shit on me again because they're jealous. But that's life. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be jealous people. So, why did I react a little bit differently in those videos? So the answer is because it's one thing to just say you suck at a game or whatever. You can brush that off and use it as motivation. But right now what I'm trying to do is take this YouTube thing and turn it into my full-time job. And the only way I'm going to do that is if people understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and what the purpose of the videos are. So when I'm doing a series like DSP Tries It, and it's a review series where I'm trying to review things that have been in commercials that people are asking me about, and the majority of it just happens to be food because that's the most pertinent thing that you see when you watch TV. You see all these retarded ads for buy the new Subway breakfast or buy the new, salad at Wendy's, all this crazy stuff. And you're like, really? Who would buy breakfast at Subway? I wonder if that's even any good. I want to answer those questions for people. So when you see people who are completely off base and put hateful comments up like, you should stop what you're doing now and get a full-time job immediately, and you're going to become fat and die of cholesterol because all you do is eat this disgusting food, and it's completely false information. It's misinformation. It's lies. It has nothing to do with the actual content of the video. I have to speak out. And the reason is, in the past, if there was misinformation, who cares? It's about Street Fighter. It's not a big deal. But now this is my life. This is what I'm trying to do as a job. And if people are getting the wrong information on what exactly this is and why I'm doing it, they're going to look and say, wow, here's a guy who lost his job. Now all he does is eat fast food. I don't want to watch that guy. He's not interesting to me. And they'll tune out and they'll never watch again. And when you see videos covering those kind of comments from idiots, which is basically what they are, they're morons who don't do the research or don't understand, and they just either hate me, or they're those people who just, they have to type before they think. I have to speak out against it, because I don't want people to get the wrong impression and misunderstand what I'm doing on YouTube and why I'm doing it. So, did it get to me a little bit? Yeah, I admit it did. And he makes a good point, Adam. You know, I should basically take everything with a grain of salt and understand that maybe a lot of it was just plain hate and people hating on me rather than people misunderstanding. But at the same time, I had to address it because I had to take the people who honestly were watching those for the first time and explain to them what was really going on. So I hope that did happen. From what I'm getting, I am still getting actually a lot of positive feedback on that series, and so I'm going to keep doing it. It won't necessarily always be food, although it seems like more often than not, yes, it is still being food. But now I've got ideas, like maybe I'll do DSP tries on the shirts that I bought and things like that. It could be a little bit different. So, alright, I think that answers that question. I think that's it for time. Absolutely, I'm right on the dot here, so let me go ahead and I'll split the part of this video, and we'll come back for part 2 of DSP's Inbox.